because we can lose on the road. Jags today, honestly, and we can kind of go on our predictions here. Not really, but your thoughts, emotion-wise, going into this game. Do you feel confident that there will be a Game 7 back in TD Garden, or are you kind of skeptical? Well, how are you feeling?
For that poll, I honestly am kind of feeling with both of those answers. I think that, the Celtics can force a Game 7, but I also feel like we kind of blew our chances because it kind of goes back to what Carlito was saying. This series could, if not already be over, be in a 3-2 in our favor easily. So, and that's a completely different dynamic at that point. I'm not really panicking. We've already proved that we can win on the road. Each team has won a road game in this series, and I expect us to answer the call just like we have after every single loss in this series and force a Game 7, bringing it back to TD Garden.
Jags, your thoughts? For you to win your money, he has to score 29 points. Shout out to Prize Picks. Jags, your thoughts here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go up with the under, or go with the over on this just based on necessity. I think that both of our players, star players, are going to need to actually ball out today. Yeah. Tatum, I'm going to go with a 30-piece in his best huge performance, like something that we've been craving to see. How Giannis has been going 40 every single damn game. I think finally we have that Tatum huge night.
Wouldn't it be so fun? I mean, I know this is there's no shot in hell, but wouldn't it be funny if we held the Bucks to under 100 points again and just kill them on their own court? That would be beautiful.
Tomorrow, and there's the buzzer. There'll be a Game 7 between the Bucks and the Celtics, thanks to a career-defining performance from Jayson Tatum.
YouTube, how we doing? Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you all so much for your time. Straight to it, guys. Woo-wee. What a series. What a game. What a battle this has become. Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, Eastern Conference semifinals, Game 6. The Boston Celtics on the brink of elimination, backs up against the walls, come out fighting, swinging, and a must-win juggernaut performance by Jayson Tatum, just what the doctor ordered. We are now heading towards a Game 7 after the 108-95 win. Now this and the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks are the only two series that have actually gone 7 games so far in this playoffs. So this is going to be exciting, guys. Today I'm just going to basically go through the box scores, basically go through some of the key takeaways, and kind of just get geared up for this, tomorrow. I mean, Game 7, it's tomorrow, so we don't have to wait long. But we actually did a pregame show yesterday. Myself, Bobby, Bree Marie, shout out to my girl Bree, and then Carlito over on Celtics Corner. That's some of the clips you've seen at the beginning here, where I called for it. I actually said I did believe that we could force the Game 7, and I thought that Jayson Tatum was due. And was he not due? I mean, he exploded, and it ended up being one of the great duels that we've seen recently with him and Giannis having a historic night and just a historic, unbelievable series. So, like I said, let's get straight to it, guys. Looking at the box score. Looking at the box score, again, Jayson Tatum, I mean, kind of like how after Game 4, where Al Horford was the hero and he was getting a lot of the praise after, that's basically what Tatum is going to be until tomorrow's game. It's going to be a lot of Jayson Tatum praise, rightfully so. He had 46 points on 17 for 32 shooting, 7 for 15 from the 3, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, plus 21. He was absolutely spectacular. He was sensational. He really was. I mean, knowing exactly what he was up against, he played 43 minutes and was unguardable. He was just in one of those zones where, here, I'll actually pull this up quickly. As you see, it was a career night. I mean, it was the second in his career. I mean, bouncing back to last year, obviously in the opening round against the Nets, this is the second best performance of his career when it comes to postseason scoring. In fact, it's also tied for second most by any Celtic. So, I mean, number 2 of his career, number 2 of all time for the Celtics. He was spectacular. We're going back to the rest of the team. Jaylen Brown, he's just been so consistent throughout these playoffs, guys. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, right? Well, coming into this series, after the Brooklyn series, he was averaging 22.5 points a game. So far this series, coming into tonight's game, he was averaging 22 points. So Jaylen, maybe not as like, he hasn't had like as flashy games, you know what I mean? With exception to the one game he scored 25.5, which I believe was game 2, and he finished 30. But the rest of his game, he's just been that steady force, man. You look up and then all of a sudden it's like, shit, he went at 22 points again. So, but then another guy you got to mention, Marcus Smart, big bounce back game for him. I mean, he had a lot of heat and fire off after that game 5 loss. I mean, that was a heartbreaking 110-107 loss where they absolutely controlled that game throughout. I mean, you could say that this series should be over. Like, they should have been up 3-2 going into tonight, and they just collapsed in a devastating fashion. And a lot of it had to do with Marcus Smart on, having the ball in his hand, like running a fast break, getting it stripped. Then, I mean, he gets it again, and instead of trying to get it to one of your star players, he actually goes and tries to take a shot, gets it ripped out from Drew Holiday, then it bounces off of him. And let's not forget about the Giannis missed free throw where he comes flying in, knocks the ball out of Jaylen's hand. And I mean, it's just, it was a lot of bad basketball in a short amount of time for him. And it really, masked what wasn't a bad game. And especially like if you look at Marcus recently, I mean, he was coming into this series after that Brooklyn round. He averaged nearly 17 and 7. This is the defensive player of the year we're talking about. Game 4, he had 18 and 8. You know what I mean? 9 points in the fourth quarter alone. So him coming out and having the 22, 5 and 7, 5 for 9 from the 3. He was excellent tonight. And it's really good to see him get that bounce back. And another guy quickly, Derek White. He is now stringing together some really good games. And I know he still is going to, get a little bit of shit for his scoring ability, because it's a shame. But for some reason, like, to be a good player, it's all about scoring. Like, it seems like, I mean, if you don't score 20 points a game, you're not shit. You know what I mean? So it's just, he's going to have to deal with that because he's not on this team. I mean, even in San Antonio, where you could argue he was a top 3 option in his career there, he was a 13, points a game guy. But if you look at him throughout this playoffs, this series right now, guys, this is now going to be, he's had several double-digit games. And then look at these last 2 games, almost identical stat lines, 9 points, right? 5 rebounds. But just what him and Marcus Smart did with some of the charges, that they actually just, I mean, they're the 2 of the best in the game. You know what I mean? So Derek White, as you see, 30 big minutes. They went small with the Smart and White lineup. And because Grant is the last couple games, he's kind of disappeared. 0 for 3 tonight, 2 points. And that's coming off of, a game 5 where he had 0 points in 31 minutes, a game 4. I mean, especially if you look at him shooting the last couple games, 0 for 1. And then he's had like a 1 for 5, a 1 for 6. So it's kind of been a tough series for Grant, but showing some love and respect to the opponent. Giannis, I don't know. He is special. He is spectacular. I mean, 44 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, 14 for 30. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time someone scored a 40 and 20, I believe, since Shaq in 2001. I mean, if you look at this man's series, he's averaging 35 and 14, 35, 14 and 7. Like, 3 out of his last 4 games, he's had 40 or more. Look, tonight, 44 and 20. This is coming off of a 40 and 11, and then a 34 and 18 in game 4, and then a 42 and 12 in game 3. Let's not forget the triple double in game 1. I mean, he has just been so sensational. He really has. Him, and when you look, if Boston pulls this out in Game 7, they would have gone through Kevin Durant in round 1 and Giannis in round 2. I mean, that's the 2 best players in the world. And I mean, you see what Giannis is doing. It is just, he has just picked this team up, put them on his back, and has just carried them. I thought after Game 4, I didn't know how much he had left. I mean, he just seemed exhausted. And since then, he's at back-to-back 40 pieces. He's just, him and Jayson Tatum and that duel going back and forth, one finishing with 44 points, obviously, in Giannis, and then the other one finishing with 46. I mean, it was a spectacular duel. And then obviously his counterpart, Middleton, but Drew Holiday, who was their hero, he saved their series in Game 5. He really did. 17 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. Now he was 3 for 10, 30% from the 3, 7 for 17 from the field. Excuse me. Pat Connaughton. He was a big deal for them in this game. Now, I don't see him actually listed here, but I want to say he finished with 14 points and was 2 for 3 from the 3-pointer. Now, Bobby Portis finished with only 4 points. Again, was really good for them. When we go small, it's hard. He's a beast on the boards, as you see, with 10 points. But again, 4 points for him. It's just they need more from him. You know what I mean? So again, this was a game where Giannis just absolutely put this team on his back. And this is Giannis's game log right here. I know I mentioned some of the stats, but if you see the highlight at the base, that's his average for the series, that 35, 14, and 7. And then if you look at the top, that's his most recent game. But like I said, 3 out of the last 4 games, the man's had a 40 piece. Incredible. And here's our Jayson Tatum with his 46 piece tonight. Incredible. That coming into the game tonight, he was averaging like just under 23 points a game. After this performance, now he's averaging over 28 on the series. And that's including having a 10-point game. I mean, that really is what this is going to be like. Playoff series are so wild, right? Because if we end up losing this, for God forbid, you're going to really be able to look back at just games 3 and then game 5 is just haunting losses, right? You have game 3 where you lose by 2 points on a night where Tatum only has 10 points, right? The man's averaging almost 30 on the series. He has 10 points. That's probably his worst game of 2022 so far, and you only lose by 2. And oh, by the way, you're a tenth of a fraction of a second away from Al Horford getting the his tip in counted and going into overtime, where who knows what happens. Then you follow that up with game 5, where you're cruising a double-digit lead the entire game. It seemed like not 1 second did I think that the Celtics were going to lose, even when they started to come back at the end. Al Horford gets that huge dunk, that put-back dunk, and it's just, an all-time bad collapse right there at the end. I'm not going to harp on Marcus too bad, but, that was a heartbreaking loss. So, that's why you hear a lot of people saying this series should be over. Stephen A. went on his rant about the Celtics meltdown, lost them the game. And again, this will be one of those real frustrating, heartbreaking type losses if they don't pull out this game 7. And I'll be honest with you guys. There was a point coming into the series where our confidence level very high. We had just swept the Brooklyn Nets, a team that a lot of people thought we were crazy for even facing in that opening round. Everyone else was trying to duck them, and we just beat the shit out of them. And not to mention, you look at a wounded animal like Milwaukee, you're missing your second best player in Middleton. It's just kind of one of those things where, again, it was one of those things, very confident in my team. And again, it's one of the, some would argue this series should already be over if the damn Celtics wouldn't have had some of those, tragic ass collapses. But you got to put some respect on this incredible team, the defending champs, and this sensational once in a lifetime like player in Giannis. And it was after game 2, I believe. As soon as those, because when you're predicting something before really seeing it, you can talk all the bullshit you want about numbers and this and that, but until you actually see these two teams collide, and I think it was after those first 2 games where both teams came out and slapped each other in the mouth, I made that breakdown, and I was just like, yeah, this is about to be a war, and that's exactly what it has. This is going to be a war. This is going to be an absolute fight and a back and forth. I think that nothing. If anything has been answered in these first two games, it's that the Bucks came out, smacked this in the mouth. The Celtics responded, smacked them in the mouth. Two dominant wins on both sides heading to Milwaukee. And I would not be surprised if it is the exact same scenario there. I expect them to probably trade games in Milwaukee and then come back to Boston to apiece. We'll have to see. I think that this game easily could go either way at this point, this series, excuse me. I think that both of these teams show that they are very capable of winning. And like I said, it's going to be a battle of adjustments. I still do think the Boston Celtics win. And at this point, I don't even know how many games it could be, 5, 6, 7. It's just kind of one of those things where I think the games are going to start getting a little bit tighter and more competitive as we go on. I don't think you'll be continuing to see these double-digit wins. Start getting ready for like the 2 minutes left in the game, 3 minutes left in the game, and it's single digits, 5, 6 point, 3 point. I mean, so this has the makings of one of those series that when it's all said and done is one that we're going to be talking about years later. You know what I mean? Just one of those instant classics. I mean, again, guys, it's a winner take all. It is a game 7. Winner takes on Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's kind of badass because both teams have a really cool, storyline. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Milwaukee fans, but this would be the 3rd straight year the Bucks would face them. And I know back in the bubble year, Miami on their route to the finals beat Milwaukee, and that was a huge upset. Milwaukee comes back the next year, sweeps their asses en route to a championship. So that would be kind of a cool storyline, them meeting up with a obvious trip to the finals on the line. And then obviously with PJ Tucker now in Miami, that'd be kind of cool playing his own team. But then the Celtics, last time the Heat were in the ECF, who did they play? Last time the Celtics were in the ECF, who did they play? So it'd be kind of cool, them two running it back. Like I said, either way, it'd be, some badass storyline. So you got Miami awaiting the winner. Congratulations to Golden State, who beat Memphis in 6. And congratulations to Miami, who have both advanced. So they are waiting for the winner of Phoenix and Dallas in the West. And obviously our game 7 with the Bucks and Celtics. Now, this game, guys, really to me came down to the 3-point shooting. It was pretty much like game 2. Remember game 2? We shot 20 for 43, had scored 60 points, 47% shooting, and they shot 3 for 18 and were 17%. It's not that as drastic. However, we actually didn't shoot 43 attempts again, but this time we had 17 of them, 40%, whereas the Bucks only shot 7 for 29, whereas, that's 24%. So again, you're talking 51 points scored from the 3-pointer for the Celtics, whereas it's only 21 for the Bucks. So pretty significant right there. But I mean, going into this game 7, guys, basically just under 77% of the time, the home team wins this actual game 7. Now, I don't think that means anything in this series because both teams have proven that they can win on the road. They've both beaten each other, in their houses in big fashion. Don't forget, the Bucks slapped us in the mouth game 1 and robbed us in game 5. And obviously we've seen what the Celtics have done in Milwaukee. So it's one of those things, man. We'll have to just wait it out, see what happens. But again, I just want to show some love to Jayson Tatum. And then one more thing with Giannis. My goodness, man. He had 44 of the Bucks' 95 points, right? He had 20 of their 49 rebounds, and he had 6 of their 15 assists. Talk about just like putting a team on your back, man. How spectacular. So, but in that fourth quarter, it got interesting again, but it just seemed like anytime they would start going on a little bit of run, just Tatum would just keep shutting the door. They got within 5, at 92-86 with about, halfway through the fourth. But then you had Jayson Tatum hitting that 3 off of the Derek White assist. Jaylen Brown getting the 3 off of Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart with that damn 3-pointer, that step back that ended up being a 2. And then you have Tatum with that nasty drive where it looked like he was going to flush it. It just seems like they responded in a big way and obviously, ended up with a double-digit win and pretty much cruised to victory throughout. So, awesome bounce-back win. every single game, the Celtics have responded. They lost game 1, responded game 2, lost game 3, responded game 4, and so on. So, again, guys, game 7 this Sunday, TD Garden, Celtics, Bucks, winner take all with a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals on the line, man. If you haven't gotten a chance, go check out the post-game show over on Celtics Corner. You have Bobby, Bree, and Carlito with their immediate raw reactions. And obviously, you know me, I got an opportunity to go rewatch it and do my little bit more of a breakdown. But and if you don't mind, guys, I'm trying to grow this channel, trying to grow the platform. If you could please, if you haven't already, subscribe. I don't ask that much. And I think there might be like people just, when it comes to subscribing on YouTube, it's essentially the same as following on Twitter. Like you don't have to put in any information or your credit card. It's literally like you hit the damn red subscribe button right below me and you go on about your business. I mean, that's literally it. But for me, especially a small channel, that makes a lot of waves for me as far as getting my content out. And especially with the off season coming, you'll see me, you know, I know you see me quite all the damn time on Celtics Corner, but that's more of a panel, a group because I'm one of the co-host, I kind of step back sometimes and put it on other people, because I'm always there. Whereas on this channel, you get to see me go into a little bit more of a deep dive. So I would really, really appreciate the subscribe. I appreciate everyone in the support, the love on both channels. It's been an incredible journey, guys. And people were asking if we're going anywhere, if the Celtics were to lose, what happens? We might take a couple days off, guys, but we will be full steam ahead, constantly, consistently uploading on both channels. So, again, thank you all so much for your time. Jags to Riches, James Peters, have an excellent rest of your weekend. See you tomorrow, guys. Pre-game, post-game, all the above to recap. God willing, a Celtics win. But either way, man, this has been an absolute instant classic. I mean, battle of two juggernauts, and it has been an honor to witness it. So again, guys, have an excellent conclusion to your day. Take care.